Welcome to episode 41 of Believe in TCU as part of the Believe Network. I'm Zion Trammell here with Seth Dowdle. Today we're going to be discussing the NFL draft and TCU Baseball with their series win over Baylor. Uh, we'll start things off here, Seth. We'll get right into it. We're going to talk about the NFL draft. Did you tune in to the draft from Wisconsin at Lambeau Field?
How could I not tune into the draft at Wisconsin from Lambeau Field? That was it was I mean, of all the drafts, of which there are many, it is one of the most how did I say this? Entertaining to watch. There are some drafts that are very boring. In fact, I actually don't know what's different about it other than there are more people there and it's outside. But it's entertaining. There seems to be a lot more drama and suspense around the NFL draft than, say, like the NBA draft, for instance.
Mm-hmm. It has a lot more hype and anticipation, a lot more storylines, a lot
I
more
think I have
yelling.
a lot more yell. Well, yes, I think that's what I have. I have theories about why the yelling was a new feature of the draft this year that seemed to add to
Yep.
the entertainment value on one network in particular.
Yes. Um, um, apparently, the NFL has just been wrong on quarterbacks forever. So,
For 50
a-
years, that's what I saw.
anyways, we're not talking about that. We're not going to talk about. We're here to talk about the TCU players that were selected in the draft, and the first one was Jack Bech. He was taken by the Las Vegas Raiders, and Ian, of course, is a Raiders fan. He's not here today, but I'm sure he was really excited about that pick. Yeah, second round, 58th overall, very well deserved for a guy who's just persevered through a lot this season and this year. Um, and obviously a very inspirational story that kind of grabbed the nation's attention. And I think everyone is super excited for Jack Bech with this opportunity with the Raiders. And it was really cool to see. What was kind of your reactions to seeing Jack Bech get selected by the Raiders?
It's just that like whenever he transferred here, right, a couple years ago, if you would have said that he's going to be the first TCU player selected in his when he's eligible, that would have been a very hot take. And he just has improved so much from his time at LSU and then his couple seasons here to where this is very much deserved. And it didn't even stop once the season ended. Obviously, he had a fantastic season. Alongside Savion Williams, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But his performance postseason, in like the Senior Bowl and at the Combine, just really, really elevated his draft stock, I think, to a place where here he is as the first TCU player off the board in the second round to Vegas, which, whether the fit is good or not, I think it actually probably is because they need some receiver help. But it's just so cool to see him being able to live out his dream and be able to do this for his family, which obviously has been through some really tough times over the last several months. It's just a cool story, one of the coolest in TCU history, in my opinion. And all the best wishes to Jack and his family as they embark on this next step of his football journey, hopefully for a very, very long time.
That was very well said. Very well said. Very excited for Jack Bech. And personally, just getting to watch his explosion last season was so much fun. Really hardworking guy. Just kind of again came out of the blue. Didn't really know what we were going to see from him, and he continued to get better and better, and really started in that game against Stanford, and he blossomed into the best receiver on this TCU team. Obviously, had a really good connection with Josh Hoover, and just a really humble guy as well. I got to go to a lot of the press conferences for football the last couple seasons, and he was always very humble and just very blessed to kind of be in this position, and to see his reaction on draft day, being so excited and pumped up to be in the NFL. I think we see a lot of players when they get drafted, they're emotional in different ways, but for him, it was like, you know, he was pretty hyped up. It was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, you always see that emotion, kind of come out in different ways for different people. Just kind of how those different players express themselves. And for Jack Bech, it really was the sense of victory. I feel like almost getting to see his name on the board and also getting that phone call, and you could see that in his reaction. If you haven't seen it, go out check it out. I think TCU football posted it on all their social media accounts and everything. So go and check it out. It really is just such an emotional moment, especially if you know what he's been through ever since January 1st. So yeah, just again, the sentiment here is that this is an awesome story. And it's not just an awesome story because of the tragedy, right, that he's been through. It's also well-deserved because he's been such a hardworking player, as you said, and he's improved so much throughout his time in college. And he really put in the effort post-draft as well, because I think, honestly, I don't know what his stock would have been had he not done what he did at the Senior Bowl in the Combine. It certainly, I don't think, would have been this high. And it just goes to show that no matter what your stock is post-draft, go ahead, put in that work, put yourself out there, and it'll pay off.
It did. It paid off big time for Jack Bech, and he's going to the Raiders. He joins Ashton Jeanty, who was selected 6th overall by the Raiders, and they've got a little bit of an offense developing there. They were certainly lacking at wide receiver. Jacoby Myers was kind of their number one receiver last season, so the opportunities will certainly be there for Jack Bech, and then with Brock Bowers as well, who's a great sensation last season as a rookie. Should be fun. And then after Jack Bech, it was Savion Williams who went in the 3rd round, 87th overall, to the Green Bay Packers. Now, Seth and I are both Cowboys fans. I think we both wanted Savion to be drafted. Cowboys went with a cornerback instead, but Savion Williams goes a few picks later to the Packers. And again, this is another guy who you saw the potential, kind of as that number 2 wide receiver with Quentin Johnston, and then his draft stock elevated this last season. He had really a tremendous season, career year for Savion, and it really started to develop at the back half of the season when he became our number 1 running back.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
He led the team in rushing in 4 of the last 6 games. But it really was something where it felt like Sonny Dykes and this offensive staff, they unlocked something in Savion Williams, and then he started to draw those comparisons to Deebo Samuel, and it became another tool that he could use.
Yeah, I think what he was able to show was that not only is he able to, perform well at the wide receiver spot, he's can be able to be versatile and give you a lot of ways to win. Just like you said, that Deebo Samuel comp was it was one that was frequently used on this show and many others whenever we talked about him. And he, for a long time, I know, we just talked about how Jack Bech was so amazing. There was a stretch, though, during the season where Savion Williams was the only offense for TCU. That was it. It was in Savion we trust. He was going out there and putting his body on the line every single week. And for the most part, it was paying off. TCU was winning games. It really was post-Houston, I think, really, when we saw the Savion breakout really begin to happen. But yeah, another well-deserved one for him. Obviously, he probably would have liked to see his name a little bit higher, but I think he's in a good spot. It's weird to see Green Bay drafting wide receivers. They took 2 of them in the first 3 rounds, as well as Matthew Golden, who they took in the 1st round. But yeah, shout out to him. I'm interested to see how he fits in that offense with Jordan Love. Hey, I just want to tell everyone, put him in the Wildcat. He'll do some damage. I don't know if they'll do that in Green Bay, but do it. It worked in college.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that fit a little bit because Matt LaFleur is a very creative offensive mind, one of the better offensive minds in the NFL. And it's pretty clear that with the selections of Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, a franchise notoriously known not for taking wide receivers in the draft. They want to revamp that wide receiver core. Jaden Reed was, I guess, their wide receiver one, but they had a lot of inconsistency last season. And so that really opens the door for Savion Williams. And he brings a unique skill set that I doubt another wide receiver on that Packers team brings. That ability with that big frame to go up and get that, that jump ball, or his run after the catch ability. He's pretty quick. He ran a pretty good 40 at the combine. And then, that vision in the backfield, if you want to run some wildcat options, there's a lot of things that Savion Williams can bring to an offense. And I hope that Matt LaFleur can unlock that the way that TCU was able to do for Savion.
Yeah, obviously we don't know that for certain. But it's an interesting fit, and one that I feel like, they can really, take advantage of his full capabilities. Whereas if he had gone to, I don't know, the Cowboys, that is probably not happening.
That's true. It probably wouldn't have worked out as well with Dallas. And Cowboys didn't even take a wide receiver, so it's pretty clear that they feel good about what they got.
No comment.
Which is a tad concerning, but that's all right. So those were the two guys that were drafted. There were a lot of undrafted players that signed with teams, former TCU players. Bless Harris signed with the Raiders. Cooper McDonald signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Johnny Hodges went to the Chargers. So, man, the Chargers just love us. They absolutely love us.
They do. Jim Harbaugh saw what they did to Michigan 2 years ago, and he said, I want them all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's like, I want all of these players. They got Max Duggan a couple years ago, who's no longer with the team, but they had Darius Davis, Quentin Johnston, and now Johnny Hodges is there. J.P. Richardson, he signed with the Chicago Bears, so hopefully he can get an opportunity. I think he's another fan favorite. I think fans are really, I personally am going to miss that trio of Savion Williams, Jack Bech, and J.P. Richardson. They were a lot of fun to watch, and that'll kind of speak to what TCU will have to do to kind of revamp this wide receiver room. But happy for JP. And there was a bunch of other guys that signed with teams. Lamarion James went to the Browns, and a couple other guys. So we wish them all the best of luck as they continue on their football journey into the NFL, and hopefully we can see them on Sundays. And it's always good when a couple frogs are able to make it to the next level, and we become lifelong fans of these guys.
One more football note before we pivot to baseball. Max Duggan, heck of a UFL game this past Saturday as well. The Battlehawks win 32-27 over the Michigan Panthers, and Max Duggan's the hero. Couple touchdown passes, and just wanted to mention that he had a 67-yard touchdown pass, and then I'm watching the highlight right now of him throwing a dot on a 2-point attempt from the 5-yard line. These rules are weird.
They are very weird. It makes the UFL, it makes zero sense. I genuinely don't get it, but
shout out
I'm glad
to the
that
Battlehawks,
Max Duggan is getting a shot. Yeah.
Shout out to the Battlehawks. They look like they have a pretty good fan base for a UFL team. League I care -50 about. Like, I do not have any interest in the UFL.
You don't care about the Arlington Renegades?
I have, a business, pitch to the UFL. Let's not have teams in cities that already have football teams. Like St. Louis is a perfect place for a UFL team, but Arlington, there's literally one 50 yards away.
And it's the biggest team in the sport.
Yeah.
And maybe in all of sports, like biggest franchise.
I have no bandwidth to give to the Arlington Renegades.
we're stretched thin. We're stretched very, very thin. I don't know if I can give my full attention to a UFL team.
Ask me
But
to name an Arlington Renegades player.
yeah, I couldn't name
Bob
one.
Stoops. That's all I got. He's the coach.
Yeah. Oh, there is a running back. His last name's Balaj. I don't know his first name.
See, this is where we are.
That's it. That's it. Anyways, enough about the UFL. Happy for Max Duggan though. Very, very happy for Max Duggan. I wish, hopefully if he continues to play well, maybe this can give him a chance in the NFL. Didn't really get one with the Chargers, which made no sense to me why they went with Easton Stick as the backup over Max.
I forgot about that. That was hilarious.
It was dumb. Max really could have gotten a chance to play some meaningful snaps, and they went to Easton Stick. But hopefully Max Duggan will get his shot. Very happy for him. Obviously a lot of TCU fans, all-time favorite athletes that came out of TCU. So very excited about that. All right. We've gotten through football. We're going to talk baseball because this was a fun weekend for the Horned Frogs. We didn't have an episode last week. They lost 2 out of 3 to UCF, and you're like, whoa, that's weird. UCF's not very good.
Pretty rough.
And the offense kind of went cold a little bit, but they woke up again. They have returned. They defeated Baylor 2 out of 3. They won 7-2 on Friday, 8-4 on Saturday, and then lost 3-6 on Sunday. But we won't talk about that. The important thing is
there is a part of that game I do want to talk about, but yes.
Okay, we'll get to that then. We'll get to that. We'll start. I want to start with Friday's game because there's just one guy that we really got to talk about. I feel like we talk about him every single time, but it's worthy. Tommy freaking Lepore. 8 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. I don't want to talk all about those numbers, but I want to talk about his performance because it felt like later in the game, he started to get into a groove a little bit. He was touching 100 in the 9th inning on like pitch 115. He's touching 100. It's incredible. And then when he came out, I mean, this is a big series. You're going up against Baylor, your biggest rival. He recognized the moment. When he left and he got pulled from Coach Sarlos, he acknowledged the crowd, threw up a Frogs up, and then like wiped his hand across the Frogs logo on his jersey. And that was so freaking cool to see for a guy that's in his first year at TCU to recognize the moment, know what was happening, and the performance that he gave to give his team the confidence and the boost they needed in the first game of this series was so cool. And respect for Tommy Lepore went up 100 times after that masterful performance.
He's having such a year, man. It is, wow. It's been crazy. I'm pulling up his pitching stats right now. 2.14 ERA over 67 innings, batting average against of 192, 58 Ks to just 21 walks. He's been amazing. His whip is 1 on the dot. Crazy.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what the vibes I was getting from that performance? I don't know if you remember this. There were several Paul Skeens LSU performances where he's on pitch for like 136 or something like that, and he's pumping 101 down the pipe, and they can't do nothing about it. That's what Tommy Lepore was doing in the 8th and 9th inning on Friday. Rear and back like the hoss he is, and just throwing gas. And these Baylor hitters, even though they've seen it at this point like 10 times, they have no answer because that's just how good he is. Not saying that Tommy Lepore is Paul Skeens, but that was very much kind of a moment you only see in college baseball is a coach sitting a guy out there when he has like 150 pitches almost, it feels like, and saying, go win me the game, kid. And that's what Tommy Lepore, unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish it, but he got dang close. And he's the best pitcher TCU's had in the last 5 years. I'm going to say that. Tully was good last year. Tommy Lepore has been better this season.
I think I agree, honestly. I mean, he's been absolutely electric. He's so confident on the mound. I just love the way he presents himself out there. Very confident, just full of energy and just throwing straight gas. And it's so much fun to watch. He's just absolutely tremendous. The ace on this pitching staff and has really stepped up in when the Horned Frogs needed him. And I think it's given a lot of confidence to the other guys, and it passed on to the next day, but with Cademan Parker. But not enough things could be said about the way that Tommy Lepore has just absolutely shoved this season for TCU. It's been fun. And then, they ended up winning that game 7-2, which of course was pretty cool as well. And it kind of set the tone for this series. Cause again, I feel like it was this was a pretty significant series that TCU would love to, coming off a series loss. You don't want to stack series losses, especially when you're competing for, seeding in the conference tournament and, you're at the top of the Big 12. You need, to be able to stay consistent. And they did exactly that. And then on Saturday, again, Cademan Parker, tremendous 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. It was his longest outing since the Michigan game back at Globe Life, I'm pretty sure. So we really got to see him stretched out a little bit more. And then the offense really had themselves a day. I think 15 hits on 8 runs. And it felt like every time Baylor had a chance to respond, TCU went right back at him and kept them at arm's length. So really good job on Saturday as well.
Yeah. Can't say enough about the job Cademan Parker's. He's improved so much from the last 2 years or last 3 years that he's been here to this season. And to where now he's gotten the confidence to be he was the Friday starter for a long time. Then he, had that injury. And now he's kind of the Saturday guy for Kirk Saarloos and company. So really, really good to see from him because he was the third, I think he was the number 3 rated high school recruit out of Texas in his class when he got here. And he hadn't really lived up to that hype so far. Mm-hmm. And certainly he's gotten closer to that this season. So that's good to see. 2 out of 3 is all you need from Baylor. You're just looking for series wins here. Obviously you would have liked the sweep on Sunday. You didn't get it. But you're in a good spot. You got 2 more, right? Big 12 series left before the tournament. Crazy how this season has just flown by. 3 more. With 1 more midweek game coming up tomorrow, recording this on Monday, tomorrow against the dreaded UT Arlington Mavericks. Oh my goodness.
Oh no. Gosh dang it. We're going to lose, aren't we?
But then you get Arizona on the road, Cincinnati at home for the final home games, barring any regional or super regional games, and then Utah to round it out in Salt Lake City. I'd say Arizona, obviously the toughest of those 3, but all 3 very winnable, I think, for the Frogs if they're playing at their peak performance.
Yes, I agree. Before we talk about the implications of that, was there something you wanted to say, though, about Sunday's game?
Yes, there's 2 things. First of all, apparently Sawyer Strauss-Snyder had oral surgery at the field because there was he had some trouble with some teeth. He lost a tooth during the game. And then there was an oral surgeon in the stands who patched it right up.
That's crazy. Man, I don't know if you're going to be able to come back. Oh, wait, we have someone in the stands that can take care of it right away. Are you kidding me? That's so sick. That is so cool.
Very, very cool. The other thing was I didn't see this one live because unfortunately I didn't get to catch much of Sunday live. But Kirk Saarloos was ejected in the bottom of the 6th after Jack Bell fouled a pitch off and it hit the ground first and then it popped up into the catcher's mitt. But the umpire called it strike 3, thinking that it foul tipped straight back into the mitt of the Baylor catcher. The replay review said that was not true. They did a whole conference, all the umpires, and they upheld the call. It clearly touched the ground first for a foul ball, but it was ruled strike 3. Reminded me of a time where my brother was playing in a game his sophomore year of high school, and he fouled a pitch. Actually, wait, no, not sorry. This was like coach pitch. Sorry, coach pitch or something like that. Maybe first year kid pitch. He fouled the ball off, like it went out of play behind the backstop, and the umpire called it strike 3. One of the craziest baseball moments of my life. Everyone's standing in the stands going, that ball, like I'm holding the ball that he just fouled off, and you just called it strike 3.
How do you think the ball got back there? Like it just floated? Like what on earth?
One of the craziest moments I've ever seen. 2 very crazy moments, but Kirk obviously in every right there to be incensed. And TCU was down 4-3, I believe, at the moment, or 6-3 at that time, which obviously ended up being the final score. He was trying, kind of rally the troops, maybe get some light a spark there. Didn't work, but I applaud the effort.
I do too. Always love when a coach, even though it's fair and it was like a really bad call, I always appreciate a coach trying to go out there and fight for your players and stuff. But yeah, that Sawyer Stroh-Snyder thing, that is so hilarious. Like, do you think someone just like went in the stands like, look, I know this is a big ask, but does anyone here know how to work and help out Sawyer Stroh-Snyder here with this tooth? Do we have anyone that works in that field? And then someone's like, me? But I'm here to watch baseball, not to work. Like, I understand that, but do you want to win this game or not?
Yeah, it's like when they asked for the doctor on the plane.
Yeah, like,
is anyone an oral surgeon?
Yeah. Do you want to help out your frogs or not? Are you a true fan? You gonna help us, or are you just gonna sit back and watch Sawyer Stroh-Snyder sit in the clubhouse with a tooth? No, I'm just kidding. But that was pretty cool. That's pretty sweet that person stepped up and did that, and took care of it right away.
Shout out to the Frogs. 2-3 over Baylor. It has been a long time. Well, let me double check this before I start spewing incorrect facts, because I don't remember if this is true or not. It has been a long time since TCU has lost to Baylor. I had to double check if they lost the series last year. They swept them. I just had to make sure. TCU owns the Bears in baseball and has for any. And this is not. I don't even need to look this up. I just know this because anecdotally, every time they play each other, TCU just looks like they're playing a different sport.
Yeah. And Baylor, and to Baylor's credit, they have looked a little bit better this season, but still, TCU owns Baylor.
Oh yeah, no, like Baylor's a tournament team, I think, but like it's not, and they've improved mightily this year, to their credit, as you just said. But yeah, it's not been in the rivalry, which is what it is. It is not the Blue Bonnet battle.
It is to me.
Okay. Wow.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Was last year the first year of that, or was that this year?
It was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember I walked in and I saw Blue Bonnet Battle, and I'm like, oh, okay, what is this? What are we doing here?
Does that just apply to football, I believe, probably?
Yeah, because, that's kind of when you think of football, you really think of like, okay, Blue Bonnet. Yeah.
This is true. Whenever I think of football, I think of Blue Bonnets.
Yeah. And so that's why they named it that. Anyways, TCU in third place in the Big 12. West Virginia sits at 16-3 and then 37-5 overall. They may never lose again. Kansas, although I think they lost somewhat recently. I don't know. Anyways, Kansas is at 15-6, just a game up on TCU. But this is a huge, huge series for the Horned Frogs. They're playing Arizona, who's 13-8 in Big 12 play. They'll be on the road for that. So it's a humongous series for the Horned Frogs. And then, like you mentioned, Cincinnati, they're kind of hanging around 500. And then Utah is probably the worst team in the Big 12. So kind of a mixed bag here with these final three Big 12 opponents, but would be humongous if they can take at least 2 out of 3 against the Wildcats of Arizona.
And the trend continued. TCU fell out of the rankings after losing that series to UCF, and then they played better. They just play better when they're not ranked, at least under Kirk Saarloos.
That is correct. So do not rank us until – actually, don't even rank us at all. Keep us outside.
Don't rank us, but
outside of the 25.
Don't rank us, but when the season ends, we'd like a regional, please.
Yes. We would like to be favored with that. Just, we like the benefit of just hosting a regional, but do not put us in the top 25. Make an exception for us. Come on, Kendall Rogers.
The last D1 baseball projection I saw, I think it was last week, TCU was going to be the 16 seed, so that means they hosted a regional. The 2 seed in their regional would be A&M, and I don't remember who anyone else. But the winner of that regional would go to Austin. It's probably to play the winner of the Austin regional.
That could be. Ooh, man, that could be intense.
Which would probably be Texas, and for what feels like the bajillionth year in a row, TCU will play a Schlossnagel. Schlossnagel cannot stop being involved in TCU athletics.
It is destiny. But we're still a few weeks away from that. Of course, the Big 12 tournament coming up at Globe Life should be fun. And then, of course, 3 Big 12 series coming up for TCU. But that'll finish things up here for this episode 41 of Believe in TCU. It's crazy. We're moving along. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten over the last several episodes. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube page, or listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, all at Believe in TCU. So for Seth Dowdle, I'm Zion Trammell. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. And as always, go Frogs.